So now I'm really pleased to welcome Fernando Maestre, who is a full professor and distinguished scientist at the University of Alicante in Spain, where he leads the Dryland Ecology and Global Change Lab. He's a highly cited researcher in ecology, having published more than 230 papers and co-authored 5 books. His main research lines are in ecology and biogeography of drylands, the consequences of global change in the structure and functioning of these ecosystems, and their restorations. In parallel, Fernando is really active in the improvement of working conditions within academia, having published a series of essays on the subjects. So now the session is for you, Fernando, and let's go.
Good morning, everyone, and thanks a lot for this very nice presentation and for the invitation to be in this session. It's my pleasure to be here to talk a little bit about how we can create healthy research environments, healthy labs, what we call healthy labs, in this hyper-competitive world we are living in. So, and without further delays, I will be just starting, just talking a little bit about the good and bad things of doing science today. Something that we already know, but it's nice to talk about it, to put this problem or the problems of doing science these days in context. So we know why we do science. We are scientists, right? We are scientists not because we get a lot of money or we get a lot of recognition. We are scientists because we really love what we do. It's a very vocational career. And there are many good things about doing science, right? We have the possibilities to do what we like. We have the possibilities to travel, to work in the field, to meet with a lot of interesting people, to work with colleagues from all over the world. There are many things that make this work really interesting and very rewarding. And this is reflected when in the different polls that the different made with researchers all over the world, there is a high degree of satisfaction among scientists. For instance, these are results from from Nature. Nature every year they made a survey with scientists from all over the world, from all the countries, at a different degrees at different career stages, and they talk about the good, the bad things, what they like the most, what they like the less, the main problems, the main good things, etc. And we can see that there is most scientists are satisfied or very satisfied with their work, right? And among the most interesting, among the things we value the most are things like the intellectual challenge and working with interesting, bright people, the environment we have within our universities and research centers, etc. Of course, the degree of satisfaction changes depending on the country. It's very high in countries like the Netherlands, not so high in other countries, but still, overall, the overall picture gives that there is many good things about doing science. However, there are many things also that are not so good, and this is also reflected in these polls, and this is what I call the bad and ugly about doing science. And there are some that also, and the bad things, they are also, some of them are really bad and are really problematic. And for instance, one of them, the most extended negative consequences or bad things about doing science is the degrees of stress and overwork. No, this is a constant along most or all the career stages, but particularly for early career researchers, is that if you see, for instance, how many hours we work, typically scientists work, particularly for early career during the PhD, is quite struggling to see that more than 75% of the people that answer this question work more than 40 hours per week. And if you look at the numbers of people working more than 60 and 70 hours, that these are really worrisome. There are quite high numbers of people that work really many hours. And this has consequences for our health, no? And one of them is the degree of the increase in the stress levels and other related health problems like anxiety and depression. And it's really problematic, for instance, that more than 35% of people have sought help for anxiety or depression during their PhD studies. And this is the people who ask for help, so this is like the tip of the iceberg. So the number of people suffering from these issues will be really, really much higher. And this is a consequence of many cultural aspects. On the one hand, I have been trained like many. Well, you are younger, no, or most of you are very young, but still we have in many places this culture in place that doing science is some kind of natural selection. We need to work a lot, some kind of Darwinian selection. There are few positions, so there are very fierce competition for them, and if you want to succeed, you need to work really hard, so sacrifice many things in your life in order to become a scientist. And there are also very other, even more problematic, is that the bad behavior and the harassment, the bullying, the racial discrimination, sexual harassment, this is really a really pervasive, a problematic problem or set of problems that we face in science. So it's really, when you look at the numbers, more than 20% have responded that they have experienced discrimination or harassment during the PhDs. And the percentage of people, for instance, suffering sexual harassment, about 50%, is quite high. And remember, this is just the people that have spoke about it, which is just the tip of the iceberg. So we are doing an activity, which is science, which has many good things, but also has many bad things, and some of them are really, really bad and are really problematic. And this is not something new. This is an old problem, but what is really new is that it's getting increased attention. We can see on a regular basis, columns, editorials, articles in journals and Nature of Science talking about these issues. There is now clear guidelines or among the main institutions, societies, to really ban or to create clear codes of conduct related, for instance, sexual harassment in education, in meetings, and there is really an ongoing movement to try to solve this issue, or at least try to recognize that we have a problem here, and talking about these problems, or this problem or set of problems, is the first step towards finding a solution. So what we can do, which is like the 1 million question that we have, right, is that we know that there are problems, but now we need to find solutions to these problems. And I would like to start by talking about the need to create healthy research environments within our labs. And I'm talking about principal investigators like myself. We cannot solve all the problems. We don't have decisions, or we don't have power over key things like the level of funding at the national, regional, and university level, or the lack of positions, for instance. But we can do really a lot by to make science a better place. To make being scientists a better job, and to create, to minimize some of the problems that I mentioned before within our labs. And to talk about this, I would like to introduce these articles, or would like to very briefly present these 10 simple rules that are presented in this article, which I guess you may know. And this article was based on this column I published in 2018, where I started to talk about these issues, about what I do, or what we do in our lab in order to make everyone as happy or as healthy as possible, and to create a healthy research environment. This column really has a lot of attention, got a lot of attention on social media, and I realized that after publishing it, that it was really a need to open a discussion about these issues and to present these rules in a more detailed way. And because I didn't have much space to write this column, they allowed me, I think it was around 500 words, I decided that it was worth to publish like a longer version, a more extended version, and this is this 10 simple rules paper that really is also having a lot of impact within our scientific communities, are, if you look at the, that these numbers are a little bit old. I think the paper has been already viewed more than 150,000 times, which is a lot for any scientific article, and has been really widely shared on Twitter and other social media platforms. So which are these 10 rules? For the first one, which is a very, very, very important one, is that as PIs, we need to promote the well-being of our lab members. And this is not something just of being nice. It's something that is also it's also that is something that it will be good for everyone, because we work more efficiently and are more creative when we are happy. If you are sick or if you are under a lot of pressure, you cannot work well. And something very important for a job, we are not machines. We cannot work well under a lot of pressure, and we need to be we need to be creative. Being creative is a very, very, very important aspect of the job. So we really need to, we are more creative when we are happy and when we are satisfied with our job. And this is something that I just don't believe me because I'm saying this. Believe me, because there is a lot of work. There is a very interesting literature in the working psychology field that has proved this for many years. So there is a lot of evidence for this. And how can we do this? There is not a silver bullet to solve all the problems that related to the well-being of people. And what I'm saying here may not work for everyone, but something that has been worked very, 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 very well for us are just common sense things, like, for instance, being kind, and of course, banning all forms of harassment and discrimination within our labs, being sensitive when it comes dealing with personal, family, and health situations, and something very important that is just listen. Listen to different lab members regarding any matter related to their work, and personal issues are of course affecting their work. And these, just applying these, as I say, common sense principles can go a long way towards improving the well-being and reduce the stress of scientists and of everyone in your lab. Something also that I found very useful over the years, and that now we can see with the pandemic that it works, is that we need to let people set their own schedules. As PIs, it's really a mistake to control lab members' schedules, and we really need to be flexible regarding their working preferences. What's the point about forcing people going to the office or staying in the lab if they can do this job at home, or if they can work remotely? For instance, if postdocs in my lab, they are analyzing data and writing papers, and staying at home or staying away from the lab. I had remote postdocs for years. Can help them to reconcile work and life and the family obligations with their work. Why not doing it? What's the point of forcing people to spending all day in an office? It doesn't make any sense to me. And in this direction, if we are very strict, controlling what everyone is doing, not only that we as PIs can get crazy, I just simply cannot do it, but it's just counterproductive, because, again, this increases the pressure on the people, and this make them less happy and working less well. And something very important that we know, we should be evaluated by the outcome of our work rather than by the number of hours we spend in our office. So these are important points to give freedom to people in your lab. Of course, if you are a field technician, you need to go to the field. If you are a lab technician, you need to work in the lab. But there are many parts of our work that can be done either in your office or at home or remotely, and we need to be very flexible to accommodate preference of everyone. Something that is also very important. In Spanish we say es de bien nacido ser agradecido. No, I think the English version is gratitude is sign of noble soul. This is one of my favorite Spanish proverbs, and I think it's a very important one, not only in work but also in life. Being grateful, just say thank you, has very positive effects on the work and personal well-being of people. So, just if we say thank you more often, people will be happier and they will work better. And something very important, we need to show our gratitude to lab members often, because, and this is very important, that they recognize that the work is crucial to keep labs running. To me, everyone in my lab is important, from postdocs to the administrative assistant. Their work is fundamental to what we do. So it's important to recognize it and to say thank you for that. I think that has very positive effects on the well-being of everyone. Something very important is we need to try to treat our lab members as our teammates. We all know labs with very clearly hierarchies, top-down approaches, and these labs are quite. It may not happen, but they are also prone to toxic relationships, and they also quite often limit the capacity or capabilities of lab members to think critically. So, and I think treating lab members as just executors for instructions as PI is a huge loss opportunity, and it's something that we really need to avoid. Something very important, we work much better working together than competing to each other. So I think it's very important to try to create a collaborative environment within our labs. This brings multiple opportunities for learning and professional development, particularly for early career researchers, and this is like the seed for very interesting collaborations and to understand each other better and to know each other better. And at the end, it really helps to work better. It really helps to make everyone happy. And at the end, it makes a lab and a researcher more productive, no doubt about it. And I can tell you that my experience has been very positive, trying to implement trying to make my lab a collaborative place rather than a competitive one. Something also very important is every person is unique, so every lab member is unique too. So we must not compare, lab members between themselves or with ourselves when we were students and postdocs. So for years, I have listened, these professors telling students, no, you need to work very hard because I did it. Or when I was a postdoc, I didn't have holidays. And I say just the same. I put a very simple example. Well, my grandfather didn't have a car. He had a donkey, right? And not because he had a donkey, we need to have a donkey today, right? To move from one place to another. So I think this is something very important. And something also very important is that our role as PIs is, and as a mentor, is to foster, to help everyone to fulfill their potential and professional ambitions, not to force them to get where we would like them to get. No, not what they would like to be or to get. I don't know if I'm expressing properly in English, but I think you catch the idea. Something also very important, particularly to reduce stress, we must respect working hours, public holidays, and vacation. And as I already mentioned, and there are lots of evidence for this, is that the highest stress associated with excessive workload is one of the main reasons behind mental health problems in academia. We often talk about a mental health crisis in academia, and one of the main drivers of this crisis is overwork. And this is not only something that we need to respect, because not doing so is just illegal. We have a contract, and our contract has a given number of hours and a given holidays, right? So we need to respect them. Not doing so is just illegal. And so I think it's, as PIs, we should not expect never lab members to work beyond normal working hours, weekends, and holidays. Of course, we do science. Sometimes we set up experiments, we have experiments, we need to take measurements in the field that imply working for long hours, for particular moments of time. Of course, we need to be flexible for that. But this cannot be sustained on time. We cannot expect everyone to work forever, and something very important that we always have to keep in mind. We love our work. We love doing science, but this is our work. It's not our life. Our life is much more than our work. So this is sometimes a difficult rule to implement, particularly in countries or in labs where the culture forces people to work, to overwork. But as PIs, we need to discuss and share with lab members resources and tips to work more efficiently. So, we all can maximize, particularly early career researchers, their productivity within normal working hours. Something also very important, we must give credit where credit is due. We all have either experience or hear about, PIs who do unethical behavior, they take authorships in the papers, that sign every paper even if they don't do anything, or that they steal ideas from lab members and put the ideas for us is they produced by themselves. This is something that not only should be abolished because it's unethical, but it's something that is quite devastating for the well-being and increases a lot the stress and anxiety of researchers, particularly early career ones. And also doing this perpetuates this problem. So it's if you are trained in this type of environment, if eventually you succeed and you become a PI, then it's quite likely that you will reproduce this because this is the model, that you had during your training. And of course, there are multiple ways we can give proper credit. For instance, involve technicians in publication, something that we do on a regular basis when they, of course, contribute to them. Leaving senior positions to postdocs, and for instance, when they had the idea and they are not the first authors. And very important, when you are in meetings discussing with colleagues, when you are giving seminars like I'm doing now, and using data or ideas from lab members, be very clear about who developed, who is the owner of this idea, or who did this work. Not try to appropriate yourself as a PI, because this is something that is not good at all. Of course, something also that I found important is we need to talk more openly about failure. Everything in academia seems to be built on success, right? But success is just the tip of the iceberg. We are living under continuous rejections. All papers, or grant applications, or job applications are rejected on a daily basis. No matter no matter how your CV is, no matter at which career stage you are. I got papers and grant applications rejected all the time, almost every week or every 2 weeks. And talking about success all the time when we are living under rejection continuously increases frustration and anxiety levels. So that was hard, and I'm not, I don't want to be hypocrite, as we say in Spanish. Sorry, I cannot tell in English. But rejection always hurts. It hurts to me too. So, but we need to get used to it, and we need to embrace it as another part of our job. And of course, we need to talk more openly about it. It's not bad to talk about rejection, because it's part of our daily working life. And of course, and that's something that fortunately is very common, because successes are not so common. They need to be properly celebrated. And the last rule, which is also a very important one, is that we need to help lab members to advance in their professional development. So we need to facilitate that they create their own network of contacts, which is very important for their future career and professional development. We need to allow time and resources to train and to help our lab members get training in critical aspects for their job, like scientific writing, statistical analysis, etc. Something that I found very, very useful over the years, and that helped a lot to both the students and to the PhD graduate students and postdocs, is to allow PhD students to co-supervise master students and baccalaureate students, and offer postdocs the possibility of co-supervising PhD students. So it contributes a lot to the training. And I will continue very briefly with some doable institutional measurements. There are measurements that are very difficult to implement, but there are others that really can be implemented if there is the political will. It's that many times measurements don't imply necessarily putting more money on the table. It's just all we need to do is the political will to implement them. Of course, something one that is very important is institutions need to take very seriously and ban all forms of harassment. We are advancing a lot in countries, for instance, like Spain. Most universities, most research centers, they have clear guidelines and clear protocols to prevent and to fight against mostly sexual harassment and other types of discrimination. The bullying is not so well articulated in the legislation, which, as you know, sometimes can be diffused, right? Or the frontier between bullying and harassment sometimes is quite diffused. But however, we still don't know the magnitude of this problem in many countries, like Spain. There are not available data, because there are not statistics that we can trust about if this is a very localized problem or if this is a systemic problem. We feel that, my personal feeling and experience is that this is a quite widespread problem, but because it's a taboo, nobody wants to, or for many years, people has been reluctant to ask, to talk, because if they talk, they suffer retaliation. The future career will be in trouble. So we really need to break down the silence, and we really need to protect the victims and properly sanction the harassers. Because one of the problems is that harassers have been doing harassment for years without any consequence to them. And this really need to change within our universities, within our research institution. And of course, something very important is we need to set up re-education programs for harassers. Of course, if they break the law and they commit a crime like sexual harassment, they need to take to the court no matter what. But for less severe sanctions, less severe behaviors, the harassers need re-education. Because as I say, harassers have been doing this many times for years, and they are usually repeat offenders. So these institutions need to take this problem very seriously. Of course, something very important, we need to train PIs. As a PI, I did not get any formal training in these issues. These are ideas, these are actions that I have been implemented over the years by trial and by just trial and error, and by trying to apply common sense. But I have been asked many times, I don't have any formal training in psychology. I didn't get any course and nobody talked to me how to create a good research environment and how to effectively train people. So we really need to provide PIs, particularly early career PIs, with the resources, the training resources needed in this regard. We can see, for instance, this is a request of PIs, particularly early career ones across the world. We can see the numbers again from another global survey on young PIs, and as you can see, more than over half of the people, the PIs have not received training, but they would like to receive. And those that receive this type of training have found very useful. I think this type of training can go a long way towards improving the conditions for researchers across the world. So our institutions should implement them. And then, and perhaps the most polemic or difficult one, is we really need to modify the criteria used to evaluate research activity. So we are living under this publish or perish culture that is just poisoning science worldwide. We don't have time. We could spend all day talking about this. We really, I don't have the time to talk about this in detail, but I think you are all aware of the problems this creates. This publish and perish, creates lots of pressure on early career researchers. It fosters unethical behavior like plagiarisms, like tricking the data, keeping non-significant results out of the publications, and it's really problematic. And we really need to change the way that the careers are evaluated. I know that this is not easy. There is not a silver bullet to solve or to do this in an efficient way. Particularly because there are few positions that there are overall, and there are many less positions than number of applicants for them. So it's a competitive world. This is not going to change in the near future, unfortunately. But we really need to move towards, rather than judging just the number of papers or the impact factor of the journal, that we know that is a flawed metric to evaluate the quality of individual papers. Of course, I'm not talking of the impact factor is can evaluate journals. And of course, this tells something, but it cannot, is a poor predictor of the quality of individual or the impact of individual papers. So we really need to focus more on the content and less on the number of publications. And we really need to use multiple metrics. We cannot use the journal impact factor as the single ring of the Lord of the Rings to rule them out, right? We really need to take into account multiple metrics, and we really need to take into account more outputs of our work. We not only publish papers, we produce software, we produce databases, we do a lot of dissemination, we do many things that society values from our work, and this need to start to having a more prevalent role in evaluations, which so far have been mostly based on the number of publications and the journal, of course, where you have published. And I would like to finish by just giving two very simple take-home messages. The first one, I think, is very important. We never need to forget that we are people before scientists, and that if you get sick or need assistance, your papers will not take care of you, no matter if they are published in Nature or Science. People will take care of you. So if you take care of the people surround you, people surround you will take care of you when you need it. I think this is a very, very important take-home message. And for the PIs that are listening to me, and for the future PIs, which I guess most of you will be a PI in the future, remember that our laboratories should be places to train scientists, not to destroy people. I don't think it says very it don't say anything good about a PI where their lab can be very productive. This can be discussed, right? But no matter if he or she can publish in the best journal and so on, but if they just destroy the people working with them, they to me are not clearly good. Yeah. So these are two key messages that I always like to give in these talks because they are really important. And that's it. I haven't controlled the time. I hope that I will not have a talk for too long. And I just wanted to thank you again for the invitation. And if you are interested in what we do, you can check our webpage, or you can follow me on Twitter when I post or I talk quite a lot about these issues that are issues that are quite important. Thank you.